A few days ago, I received the very sad news that Andy Max Jensen, aka the Camino Ninja, had died very suddenly and unexpectedly in the city of Leon, Spain, after collapsing. If you have watched my video where I talk about walking the Camino and particularly give advice and guidance about walking the Camino, you will have heard me talk about the app that Andy developed called the Camino Ninja app. Of the various different apps that I used whilst walking the Camino, his app was, for me, by far the best. I had the privilege of meeting Andy a month ago in Leon. I was sat in the city centre one night with some friends at a bar, and I spotted Andy walking through the city centre, and Andy was unmistakable with his long grey beard. I recognised him instantly from pictures that I'd seen of him on his Instagram page. And we invited Andy to come and sit with us, and Andy spent about 2 hours sat with us in that bar as we chatted about walking the Camino, and as we plied him with all sorts of questions about his experience and his advice about walking the Camino. And Andy must have been asked these questions thousands of times before, but he was happy to sit there to share his love and his passion of the Camino with us and to answer all our questions. And for us, I think it felt like, meeting Camino royalty. It was a real joy and a real privilege to meet Andy, and I was just really in many ways bowled over at his openness and willingness just to sit there and to chat and to share. Therefore, to hear about his very sudden and untimely death has really shocked me, actually, and upset me. It seems such a tragic and sad death at such a young age. My contact with Andy didn't just finish in Leon. When I got to Santiago, I then went to Porto for a few nights, and for the first night in Porto, I stayed in a hostel that was listed on Andy's Camino Ninja app. And I discovered once I got to Porto that this hostel actually operated an age limit, so it was intended really for people between the ages of, I think, 18 and 36, and it sort of styles itself as a party hostel. Now, that wasn't clear when I booked it online. Now, they did let me stay there, even though I'm in my mid-40s, and it was absolutely fine, no problem. But I emailed Andy, and I thought I should let you know that there is this age limit that they do operate, and maybe you want to mention that on your app, so when people are booking that hostel, they know about that. And Andy responded a day or two later to my email, and he said, I've removed that hostel from the listing. And when I asked him why he'd done that, he said, the Camino is for everyone, and I don't like any sort of discrimination. He said, if that place wouldn't welcome someone like me, then I don't want it in my app. And I think that says something about the person that Andy was. He was passionate about the Camino and wanted everyone to experience the Camino. Andy started walking the Camino, I believe, about 15 years ago, and over those last 15 years has walked over 20,000 kilometers. And a programmer by background, originally from Denmark, from Copenhagen, Andy developed the Camino Ninja app, an app that he wished had existed when he first walked the Camino. And I know myself and many other people have found his app really invaluable. I want to just read to you a tribute that was posted online by someone who clearly knew Andy far better than I did. I only had that one brief encounter with him. But I think this tribute is a really beautiful tribute and says so much about the sort of person Andy was. So Andy was the creator, founder and full-time programmer of the Camino Ninja app. He built it from scratch while walking over 20,000 Camino kilometers, tracking routes all throughout Spain, France and Portugal. Andy was fierce, strong, quick-witted and unexpected. He was an advocate, friend, confidant, pilgrim and fellow wanderer. He loved deep conversation as much as a good laugh. Andy somehow got it and never took life too seriously. He loved life, the adventure, always ready to challenge himself and the world. He was open to the deep intricacies of life's perpetual and constantly shifting nature. He was always ready to give the clothes off his back, the shoes off his feet, Camino tips and tricks, whatever people needed. If he had it, he gave it freely. He was deeply giving and kind. He was a computer programmer for over 20 years, and before that he worked in the music industry in Copenhagen. Andy captured memories in his photography. He had an eye for seeing the world. Andy is from Denmark originally, but was a global citizen these past 15 years, most recently spending his time tracking the Caminos in Portugal, France and Spain. He lit up the world. His eyes spoke volumes and his friendly hug enveloped. Andy would walk for a while, hear someone's story, listen, chat and share. He could befriend folks from all backgrounds and walks of life. Andy had friends and fellow pilgrims that he connected with from all around the world. He built an empire from the ground up. He was a force to be reckoned with, yet also kind and emphatic, a great friend to us all. He liked to see people happy and was deeply satisfied to know his ideas and work as the Camino Ninja made the journey a pleasant one for pilgrims along the way. With 100 plus Caminos under his belt, Andy met people as they were, wherever they were at, and found great joy, love and connection in conversation and friendship. When in the zone, Andy didn't walk, he'd glide. There was a musicality to the way he moved, worked and played. Over the last year, Andy had grown consistently more recognised on the Camino. Nearly every time he walked or took a pit stop, there were excited pilgrims asking for selfies, happy to meet the ninja. The app made people happy and he loved that. He took the effort to respond to each email individually and was adamant that the app was free to all, businesses and pilgrims, with no advertising. He just wanted to make the best app that he could offer, logical, streamlined, convenient and functional. The app he wanted for himself, the first Camino 20,000 plus kilometers ago. Andy never pushed the Camino to be a particular way. Everyone had an individual journey, transformation story and challenge to face head on along the path. And the tribute goes on. But I think those words really say so much about the person that Andy was, and the person that I very, very briefly encountered when I was walking the Camino in the city of Lyon. And I just felt it was important to pay tribute to Andy, the Camino Ninja, here on YouTube, particularly as I've referenced his wonderful, amazing app. I don't know what will happen with his app going forward. I really hope that there is someone out there who shares Andy's passion for the Camino and his vision for the app, who can continue to use it and develop it as Andy would have wished. But I just want to finish particularly by saying to Andy's family and friends, those people who knew him best and loved him the most, I just want to pass on my deepest condolences and sympathies to you all. And to Andy, I would like to say thank you so much for all that you have done to help pilgrims over the years through your amazing app, and to wish you Buen Camino.